suffering essential for spiritual growth? We all experience suffering, pain, loss, fear, heartbreak, illness. When we suffer, one question always rises: why? Why do we have to go through this? Why does spiritual growth seem to involve so much pain? Can't we grow through peace and ease instead? For years, I struggled with these same questions, especially during some of the darkest periods of my life. But through my personal journey, ancient teachings, modern science, and countless stories, I've come to realize suffering is not a punishment, it's a doorway. In this video, I'll take you deep into my own experiences, traditional wisdom, scientific understanding, modern day examples, and most importantly, why suffering is not your enemy but your teacher. By the end, you may start to view your struggles as some of your most sacred opportunities for growth. The universal question, why must we suffer? At some point in life, we all ask, why is there pain? Why do good people suffer? Why do spiritual seekers face so many trials? We instinctively wish life was smooth and painless, but every spiritual tradition teaches that. Growth often blooms through suffering. The problem isn't suffering itself, it's how we perceive suffering. For a long time, I saw my suffering as unfair, as something happening to me, but eventually I realized that suffering was happening for me. My personal story, suffering that awakened me, my true spiritual journey didn't begin during success, it began during struggle. Health problems that left me physically drained, emotional pain that shook my confidence, fear of losing control over life's direction. At first, I resisted. I tried to fix everything. I obsessed over solutions. I blamed myself, others, even life itself. But the more I resisted, the heavier the suffering became. Eventually, exhausted and broken, I reached a point of surrender. I whispered, I can't carry this anymore. I surrender. In that surrender, something profound happened. Peace entered. Clarity emerged and presence deepened. Suffering had stripped away everything false, leaving only what was real. That pain became my greatest teacher. Traditional teachings on suffering and spiritual growth. Throughout history, spiritual masters have spoken of suffering not as punishment, but purification. Buddhism, the Noble Truths. The Buddha's first teaching was life is suffering, dukkha, but he didn't stop there. Suffering arises from attachment. Freedom comes from releasing attachments. Suffering leads us inward toward liberation. Without suffering, many would never seek awakening. Hinduism, burning of karma. In Hindu teachings, suffering often represents the burning of past karmas, the purification of the soul's journey toward liberation, moksha. Pain becomes the fire that dissolves past imbalances. Christianity, the cross and resurrection. In Christian mysticism, Christ's suffering symbolizes humanity's own path of death and rebirth. Through suffering, one dies to ego and is reborn into divine love. St. Paul wrote, suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. Sufism, breaking the ego. Sufi mystics speak of suffering as the breaking of the false self. Rumi wrote, the wound is where the light enters you. Pain softens pride and opens the heart to divine love. We don't have to look far to see this principle at work today. The survivor who found purpose. I once met a woman who lost everything, her home, her spouse, her career, all within a year. For a while she was broken. But through deep healing, reflection, and solitude, she rebuilt. She started counseling others. She found peace within herself. She discovered a calling to help others through their own suffering. Her greatest pain became her life's highest purpose. The man who faced his fears. A man I worked with suffered from crippling anxiety for years. It limited his work, damaged his relationships, controlled his life. But through surrender, therapy, breath work, and inner work, he faced the root of his fear. The suffering forced him to awaken to deeper layers of healing he never would have touched otherwise. Today he lives with peace he once believed was impossible. The science behind why suffering shapes us. Even modern science confirms that suffering can become a powerful catalyst. One, post traumatic growth. Psychologists have identified post traumatic growth, positive transformation following adversity. People often emerge from suffering with greater resilience, deeper gratitude, stronger relationships, clearer values. Suffering can build not just scars, but strength. Two, neuroplasticity. The brain rewires itself during deep emotional experiences. New neural pathways form. Greater emotional regulation develops. Deeper wisdom arises. The brain, like the soul, grows through challenges. Three, emotional processing. Suffering forces us to confront suppressed emotions. When properly processed, these emotions release trapped trauma, heal the nervous system, deepen emotional maturity. Why spiritual growth requires pain? Let's go even deeper into why suffering fuels spiritual evolution. One, it shatters the illusion of control. Pain shows us we are not in control of everything. The ego cannot manage life's complexities. Surrender opens the door to trust something greater. Two, it softens the heart. Pride dissolves, humility grows, compassion for others deepens. We become more understanding because we know suffering firsthand. Three, it burns away the false self, false identities, material attachments, superficial priorities. Suffering forces us to confront what truly matters. Four, it awakens presence. When everything is stripped away, you meet the present moment fully. There's nowhere else to hide. You meet yourself, raw and real. Five, it opens the door to divine connection. In deep pain, many experience mystical encounters, spiritual awakenings, direct communion with God, Source, or the higher self. The breaking becomes the breakthrough. The parable of the cracked vessel. There's an ancient parable. A master carried water in two clay vessels. One vessel was perfect, the other had a small crack. Each day, the cracked vessel leaked some water. The vessel felt ashamed. One day, the master smiled and said, "Look at the path we walk. The cracked vessel watered these flowers along the way. Without your crack, this beauty wouldn't exist." Our suffering is often the crack through which our soul waters the world. How to embrace suffering as a teacher. Here's what has helped me transform suffering into growth. One, stop asking, "Why me?" Instead, ask, "What is this here to teach me?" Two, allow emotions fully. Don't suppress pain. Let it move through you. Cry, journal, express. Three, surrender control. Trust that something greater holds you, even when you don't understand. Four, seek meaning. Even if the pain remains, meaning can transform the experience. Five, serve others. Use your suffering to help others. Pain loses power when it becomes purpose. Six, practice daily stillness. In silence, wisdom rises. Even today, suffering hasn't disappeared from my life. New challenges arise and new lessons present themselves. But now, when suffering appears, I greet it differently. I no longer see it as an enemy, but as a messenger. Some messages I understand quickly, others reveal their wisdom slowly, but I trust the process. Life breaks us open to build us stronger. So, why is suffering essential for spiritual growth? Because it purifies, because it humbles, because it awakens, because it draws us closer to the divine. Pain cracks open the shell of ego, allowing light to enter. The soul does not evolve by comfort alone, it evolves by being forged in fire. If you've walked through suffering that transformed you, share your story in the comments. Your journey may help someone else feel less alone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who may be walking through their own fire right now. Until next time, stay open, stay strong, and trust the purpose behind your pain.